Eamon Khan here for Seconds Out with soon-to-be British Boxing Hall of Fame inductee as trainer, Shane McGuigan. Shane, how you doing?
Am I? I didn't know that.
I believe so.
Oh, is that you texted me out the other day?
I did,
okay,
yeah. Congratulations, I said.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah. It's exciting times, yeah. And another achievement, which is nice.
Is that one of those things that you expect to come on later in your career when you're a bit older? And
I am old, mate. You want to see me get out of bed in the morning, I'm a bag of bones.
Bag of bones like a...
But not a bag of bones in the skinny sense. It's more they're just rattling.
How was the marathon? You completed that. How was it?
Tough times. 3:08. I went through halfway at 1:22, so I was on for a sub 2:45. The goal was 2:48 to 2:45, and I went out just thinking I could invincible. So my second marathon, the first one I did 2:53. So as always, stupidly trying to set a not necessarily an unrealistic goal. I think just an unrealistic goal in the temperatures that was hottest day of the year, and I literally ran past, like it looked like a war zone. I was just running past bodies like collapsed all over the place. So took my medicine at 30 k's. I was averaging 3:53 a kilometre, and then the last 12 kilometres I went to about 6 k's, and just fell right off because I had a calf issue. So yeah, it was not ideal.
Did the mental part of it work? You were saying on your channel that you've got to make it as boring as possible to be as optimal as you can be, so you weren't putting on tracks that I guess might release dopamine and stuff. Did that part of it work? Did you feel that side work?
Yeah, I'm quite a weird one. I can just sort of just train in silence, but I don't know. It's an amazing event, honestly. Like I think, when I realised I wasn't going to achieve my goal set time, I just tried to enjoy it. And I think it was like 700,000 people that came out to cheer in the street. So it's an experience that not many people get a chance to do, and I think I just soaked it up as much as possible in my pain and grimace. But it was and also doing it for the cause, doing it for which you kindly donated for as well, which is amazing. So I made a small difference, and that was the most important thing for me.
Not many people get to become world champion, let alone a unified. Ellie Scotney is looking to add the WBC title to her collection against Mikado. I was just speaking to her, and she asked her like in amongst her training with yourself, how much of the full, complete package does she feel she is? And she said, look, I don't feel that. I feel like I'm still touching the surface with Shane, and there's a lot more to come. Fighters would sell themselves, and I guess say this, but from a trainer perspective, is that the case? Do you feel that Ellie Scotney's ceiling is a lot higher than she's shown right now?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just about styles, right? So it's about people that are going to come to have a fight where they come to win, where she'll really have to dig deep. I think it's, I think genuinely I believe her best days are going to be at featherweight and even super featherweight, where she's going to move up and she'll be a little bit more comfortable at the weight, and I think she'll just excel a lot. I mean, I see her spar girls that are like 140 pounders and like really good fighters, whether they're on GB and things like that, and she does brilliantly with all weight categories. So I'm excited. I think the achievements are going to come. I think if she, as I'm saying, I believe when she moves up in weight, I think she'll have that little bit more energy and a little bit more snap in her shots. But she's got work to do down at this weight. I mean, she can make it. She can perform at it. I just think styles make fights, and I think she's going to really be forced at those heavier weights to sort of make the adjustments to win those 50-50 fights.
What dangers does Mikado present to Ellie?
Her tempo, the fact that she fights at a slow tempo, that she's lazy, and I think the fact that she's lazy, but more of a relaxed, lazier style, I think it can switch fighters off and they can drop down to that tempo, and then she can nick rounds. And I think that's the most important thing is, we don't allow her to fight at her tempo. It's all about Ellie conducting the pace, pressing it, making sure that she's putting on a show.
There was a rivalry brewing between her and Sky Nicholson. Do you think that fight will present itself in the near future?
I think so. I mean, I don't see why not.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I wanted to address, just being direct about it, is of course Chantal Cameron features on this card, and there were some issues the previous Katie Taylor fight where Ellie Scotney was meant to be on that card, but she wasn't because Chantal felt that there would be a disruption between the two teams. Isn't it 1-for-1? I guess the same situation because she's not the headliner this time around, Chantal, but do you expect or anticipate any issues come fight week?
No, because the people that had the issues were her team, and that they can't fly to America because they're on the ban list. So yeah, I don't think there'll be a problem.
Jake Paul and his involvement in female boxing. Good for the sport, do you feel? I was speaking to Ellie as well. She was saying that there's a feeling right now that top of the sport, there's a lot of interest, but maybe lower down, there needs to be more of a boost, more investment. Do you think Jake Paul's the man to project?
I think
female
so.
boxing?
I think he's got a great audience, and he reaches just his reach is huge, and I think the more he can push it, and I think what he's realizing with female boxing is that they're not afraid to lay it down on the line, and they really go hell for leather and give it their all in fights. You can see certain fights like Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez. He just went out there to nick a win. I don't think that's not really the advert in female boxing. Look at Serrano versus Katie Taylor, 3 fights. It's going to be, you're guaranteed a great fight. So I think where his head's at, he wants to make 50-50 fights. It's more affordable to make 50-50 fights in female boxing, and it's a great advert for him. And and then it allows him to get into boxing at world level, which is what he's doing, and he can create great personalities. A lot of these girls are all different personalities. Some are extroverts, some are introverts, and he can work and play it off each other. And that's what he's a master of doing. He's a master of advertisement and marketing, really. I think it's a really strong position to be in if you're a fighter, to have that team behind you.
At one point, you were going to be in the opposite corner to him, right?
I was indeed, yeah. We got stopped at the airport going out to New York.
The reason I ask that is Jake has flitted around trainers. I think he's training with Shane Mosley, but if ever Jake said, look, Shane, would you give me a few pointers? Would you help me, or would you?
I think the thing is like you don't really want to go and work with influencers because they don't take themselves. A lot of them don't take themselves seriously, but he genuinely has. Like, he could have stopped boxing a long time ago, but he's still going. Do you know what I mean? Like, his brother's not boxing. He boxes. He goes for a little training camp, wrestling, has a fight, does that, and goes to different sports. But Jake's obviously fascinated by boxing and fascinated with progression in boxing. So, of course, I think that's all you really want as a coach. You want someone to want to get better. I've worked with world champions that have literally, it's been arduous going into the gym every day because you're thinking he just wants to go through the motions to make weight to have the fight, rather than like the hunger of like a 19-year-old Adam Zine that wants to literally is hanging on every word. That's the beauty of being a coach, is when you can get through to people, and it makes it much more enjoyable when you're doing that.
This was footballing terms. They obviously bagged Ellie Scotney. They'd be looking at the gym, scouting, and seeing there's another top striker in here in Caroline Dubois. Do you feel that there might be a future with Caroline Dubois and MVP? Have there been any conversations to that degree? No,
there hasn't been any conversations. But I mean, doesn't matter who Caroline's promoter is or what platform she's with or whatever. I think the most important thing for Caroline is she gets the best opportunities, and I think MVP have a lot of the great opportunities. They've got Alicia, they've got Beatrice, they've got some big names that, I mean, obviously Katie and Serrano most likely won't be boxing for much longer, but they're invested in some of the talent and the opposition that Caroline's interested in boxing. So yeah, potentially there'll be something to do down the line.
I heard you in the previous interview talking about the future of boxing and Sky Sports Boxing. They're not continuing the deal. You said you didn't have a Scooby about what's going on there, but could you tell us what happened with Adam Azim being pulled off the card previously in Barnsley?
Yeah, the guy made weight, but he made weight through a sauna, and the Mexican Commission wrote to the BBSC and said that we don't want him to box because we don't feel like it's a safe contest, because he's been in the sauna, he's documented it on his social media, and I think in fairness to the BBSC, we argued the point that there's been a lot of people that have used saunas, but he said, and they've probably overturned a few things, a few of those decisions. But in terms of allowed people to box, but most of the time they've been British fighters versus British fighters. When you've got a Mexican opponent in, and the Mexican board have raised concern, you can't do anything about it.
So what is the latest with Adam in terms of him getting out?
At the moment, we're going to look for another date. That's literally it.
Okay. Willie Hutchinson as well too have been training here. I think that's now being confirmed. What about Willie and his return to the ring?
We're looking at a fight in September. Looks getting back to winning ways. Obviously, his last fight was against Boatsi, which he came up short. Would love big opportunities for him. At the end of the day, it's building a relationship with him and getting him back to world level. He wants to box them all, and he genuinely hasn't achieved anything like what he's capable of achieving. So, but sometimes a lot of great fighters don't get the opportunities, and a lot of great fighters don't fulfill their potential. But I don't want him to be one of the guys that doesn't do that, because he has so much ability.
CBS and Caroline, any updates on them?
Same thing. I mean, we're waiting on with Chris. We're waiting for Noel McGuigan versus Badu Jack, and the winner of that. That's frustrating that there's a rematch there. We've also got our eyes on Zerdo versus Dorticus, because if Dorticus turns the clock back and beats him, it's a fight that we'd really relish. I think styles make fights. Brandon Glanton was highly ranked with the WBA, and Chris is a big name. He sells a lot of tickets, and he's a former world champion. So I'm sure that could be made. So just sitting there waiting on the options. Really, there's a couple of big. I mean, he just doesn't want to go through the motions again. Not that it was discrediting Brandon Glanton, but it was a fight to get him back to winning ways, and then he wants to fight the big ones, and those are the big names. So. Yeah, that's his position. And Caroline, we're looking to, get the likes of Terry Harper. So hopefully we can get a unification fight with her.
I wanted to ask you about Josh Taylor's recent fight with Echo Esman. A lot of talk about whether Josh could return back to the form against Echo at a new weight. I remember speaking to you a while back, and you said welterweight might not have been the weight for him. Was it that the case with the fight against Echo? Or is it a case that maybe that the peak isn't where he's at anymore?
He's still got ability, he's still got spells of greatness, he just doesn't know how to put it together. So I don't want to discredit him too much. We'll see, but he should never be losing to Echo Esserman. He's just a much better fighter than him. And yes, weight. I'm talking about weight being an added advantage at the top end of boxing. It's not at British level or like fringe, like top 10 division sort of level. It's that shouldn't be a factor. So he should have won that fight, but he didn't. And I think he's got to contemplate what he's going to do.
I don't know if it was coincidental or not, but you put up a post on that night, a picture of yourself and Barry, and there's a kind of feeling within the boxing fraternity that when fighters leave yourself, that they don't return to how good they were with you. I remember asking Carl Frampton after the fact, and he kind of felt that.
I heard that interview.
Anto Kakachi had done better, and he also said as well too that CBS is.
He's got this narrative about people sparring too much, but Daniel Dubois was really unhappy with the amount of times he was sparring. He wasn't sparring enough. Apparently, he wanted to spar way more. The sparring changes for every single person. I'm not really going to go into anything about Carl Frampton.
Sure.
But it's down to me, the way I look at it. And if somebody's coming in super heavy and they're not, and they're not switching themselves on in training, like a George Groves, for instance, we used to spar with people that weren't capable of lacing his boots, but it was a great exercise to get his eye back in and target practice, literally with amateurs, and we'd put bigger gloves on him, and we would just use it as more of a tech spar. So he might have done 60 rounds of that, and then he might have done 60 rounds of open sparring, like live open sparring with good opposition. It's different for every single person. Chris spars once a week. Sometimes he spars twice a week. He never spars more than twice a week. Chris Smith is 35 years of age and in August, and he's really still in his athletic peak. I think it's just down to me to be working with fighters and trying to get the best out of them. And that's all I've tried to do. Is I've always tried to get the best out of my fighters. And whether people feel like there's this narrative that they fall off a cliff after leaving me, I'm not some genius. I just feel like I can get through to people, and there's a trust element, and there's basically does the right information and given to them. And I think someone that like Josh Taylor, for instance, he had a lot of trust in the team, and I know that he didn't want to make those decisions. He just did it because I think he regrets a lot, let's put it that way.
Is there, I don't know if this is a silly question, but I'll ask it, is there a point of pride then that if there is this narrative that fighters aren't as good as they were?
Going to the Kakachi thing, I mean, Kakachi left he was only spent a year at the gym, and then he lost to Martin Ward afterwards. But it's great to see Kakachi, doing a lot and achieving a lot. So, and that's just the way it is. Look at Daniel Dubois. He's achieving great things since leaving the gym. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Don Charles. It's great. Boxing's all about timing, and certain people have great spells and great times in their careers. And I think if you're the person that can get through to that individual and get them at that right time, it's amazing. It's a great journey to be on.
So you feel a point of pride that if fighters aren't as good as they were when they left you, that's testament to your work?
Not really, because that's just like a bitter way of looking at life.
I don't mean just in like a brutal and direct way about it, because obviously you spent that time with them, you got that out of them. It just shows your work.
No, it's genuinely, it's more upsetting whenever things go the other way and you just don't even talk to each other afterwards, and and that you think, come on guys, we could have been in massive fights together and had that confidence within each other, because it's a confidence thing, that changing environments, changing teams, it's a long process. You just can't do it. You can't jump from one to another. Look at all the great fighters in history. They always stick with one person and one team. Like Canelo, he stuck with Reynoso since he was 15, like Mayweather and his dad and his uncle. That's that embedded system. If he'd have just gone to some random person, just jumped out when he was a lightweight world champion, he still would have been very good, but would he have achieved everything that he set out, that he has achieved? Do you see what I'm saying? Even Golovkin, the whole way through with Abel Sanchez and stuff like that, all of his really high-end fights, you know what I mean? So it's building that rapport within each other, and I think it's not easy to replace a team. You think you can, and it looks great on Instagram when you see people rattling off combinations and doing specific things, but that's just not. It might not work for that individual, everything. The grass always looks greener.
Speaking of Daniel Dubois, he's in a big fight against Oleksandr Usyk for the second time. I just wanted to ask you specifically in points where you had sparring where Daniel maybe didn't get the edge over his opponent. How did he deal with that? Because he's in with a fighter who stopped him the last time around. How does he deal with that mental side of things?
I think the positive that Daniel is looking at is that he didn't register that as a loss. Okay. I think the Joyce fight really sat on him. Whereas I don't think Usyk, he felt comfortable in there. I can't speak for him fully, but I think he looked quite comfortable in there. He caught him with a great body shot, which was declared low. He can see reason, and I should have won that fight. And then since then, I've done, Big Baby. I've beat Big Baby Millie. I beat Hergovic. I broke their spirits, and now I've knocked out AJ. And I'm coming back. I'm going to do it. But it's you're in there with a different animal. You're in there with a guy that's going to make you fight at a tempo that you just do not like fighting at. You don't like fighting at that pace, and you get flustered at that pace. And if he can land a shot, great. If he can pull it out of the bag, I'll be celebrating for him. But you just got to look at that last fight and think the Usyk just dominated that pace and that tempo of that fight and controlled that distance for literally 95% of the fight. So he's a long way off winning that fight. I hope he does it, because I think it would genuinely just change the landscape of heavyweight boxing. I think it's a new era coming through. You got Atuma, you got Dubois, you got there's younger people coming through, and I think that would be the turning point of it. But I just don't think that I just don't believe he'll be able to win it. But he's always got a huge puncher's chance.
What's he missing to win it?
It's just the speed.
So
it's the speed.
What's it do to address that pace then?
Timing. You got to take it away with timing, and you got to throw caution to the wind. But like, look at someone like Chisora threw caution to the wind, really flustered Usyk for the first 2 rounds, then he settled at that tempo. It's a concentration thing for Usyk. He'll keep you concentrating for literally 3 minutes of the round, and that's where heavyweight guys are just used to just taking that little walk off. See it? Taking that walk off, chilling it down, fainting, just slowing it all down. But he doesn't allow people to do that. That's why he beats the bigger guys, because athletically he's nowhere near them, but he's able to just control the tempo the whole time.
Trainers at heavyweight seem to get a lot of stick when their fighters go to throw caution to the wind. You were part of that moment where you were saying like Joshua needs to recover, but he then chose to throw caution to the wind and try and find that knockout. How do trainers balance obviously the jeopardy and trying to get the knockout, and then the stick that comes with it when the
trainers are just the fool people the whole time. Let's be real. Like, do you know what I mean? They're just the fool guys all the time. So, it's just the way it is. You're in the moment. You got to see the opportunity, and if you feel the opportunity is there, you tell your fighter to take it. And it's just an instinctive thing that the fighter, I'm saying, that rapport between the fighter and the trainer. You guys have got to be literally synced and on the same wavelength. Mm-hmm. And that's what you need, that couple of years before you get to world level, or at least a year before you get to world level. So you guys, before you have those big, crisis moments.
Last question, can I get you read on it? Itama White?
It doesn't go past 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I think Moses is far too sharp for him.
Okay. Cheers, Shane. Much appreciated.
No problem.
Good man.